Hello and welcome to episode 4, the final episode where I got as many Mariners content creators as I could in one place to answer some pressing Mariners questions. For this positive episode, we're going to be talking about what we're excited for the 2025 season and our off-the-radar trade targets. The creators we have joining this is Jay's Trident podcast, Colton and Joe from Mariner Mojo, Colby and Ty from Locked On Mariners, Lyle from the Marine Layer, the Jage page from Twitter, Connor the Couch GM, Sean from Collins Like It Is, Patrick from Mariner Muse on Twitter, and Brady Farkas from the Refuse to Lose podcast. Of course, all of their links are going to be in the description, so I urge you to check them out on their platforms if you haven't already, but that's enough from me. Let's get right into it. Who is our under-the-radar trade target this offseason?
A name that there's a bunch of names. I'll throw one out there, and I don't even know where it would necessarily work position-wise. I really like the Nico Horner idea. Cut back on the strikeouts a little bit. Great defensive player, good offensive player as well. Not necessarily the most amazing guy, but bat-to-ball skills are there. I think in T-Mobile, I'm not crazy about like, oh my gosh, they strike out so much. I think you can still be a good offense and strike out. The record for strikeouts was the 2023 Twins, which were like fifth in WRC plus. But I do think in this ballpark, it can help a little bit, put that on ball. I think Horner's the guy that can help that. I think they had some interest in him a little bit in a trade. I don't have the insights to it. I don't know. Maybe it was just fans talking about it, but we know Jerry Ty's talked about it a lot, likes to circle back to guys. So that would be a name I'd throw out. I don't want to mention anymore. I've got a few others, but I will keep it to one, I'm sure. So I'll go with Nico Horner. I know it's tough because you got JP at short, so I'm not sure the logistics there, how that would work out. I don't know if Horner can play second, maybe. JP actually seemed like he took a little bit of a step up defensively this year. His defensive numbers were better. I don't know if that's something that's, Perry Hill related, JP related. We'll see. But Nico Horner would be the name that I'd keep an eye on.
I've proposed already way too many trades for being this early in the offseason, but hey, we're going to keep that going regardless. No, if I was going to go really, really like deep dive on what I think could make sense. So if one Urias didn't work, what if we tried to go with a different Urias? So Ramon Urias,
I saw that
coming off a 115
wow.
WRC plus, 106 in 22, 99 in 23. Listen, he's 30. He's got 3 years of ARB eligibility. But what's interesting here is he offers you third base, played 3 games at second, played 2 games at first, and he hits lefties, which, you kind of sit there and you go, okay, what if they decide to invest at first base, right? Like, let's say that they want to go get Santander and they decide that they're going to play him at first base, hypothetical, right? You're probably locked into Josh Rojas then. Like you were going to have Josh Rojas on your roster because you probably can't afford to look for more at third base with you investing that money. Looking for a right-handed bat to go with Josh Rojas, again, similar to how Luis Urias was. But again, what Urias also offers you is, what if you have an open second base job competition between him, Ryan Bliss, and Cole Young? Urias might make the roster over that. There's also nothing saying you couldn't carry Urias and Cole Young and have him kind of platoon back and forth between Rojas and Cole Young, pending on who shows some sort of ineptitude for being able to hit. So I think he's a very, very deep dive kind of ad, but he kind of fits the idea of what they want to do, right? They're still going to platoon whether we like it or not. That's not going to go anywhere. At least give me a guy that's going to be able to potentially do it at multiple locations. And if you're going to actually invest and it ends up being at first base or a DH or potentially even in the outfield and moving one of your outfielders to a DH role, it does make a lot of sense for you to go find a player with defensive flexibility in the infield who can hit left-handed pitching, because it's just not something you have on the roster right now. So I would say he's probably my deepest dive that I can do. And for, a concept of what that would cost, I mean, to be honest, ballpark Baltimore probably asked for Emerson Hancock, something along those lines. Like, again, Baltimore's desperate for pitching. They're going to be looking for it this offseason, whether it's bringing back Burns or going and getting Flaherty or whoever else to be able to fill into their rotation. That also might eat up their money. We know they have new ownership. We don't know how that ownership plans to spend. So something like Ramon Urias, who he's great for them for a depth piece, but in reality, like, okay, you have Westberg, you have Henderson, you have Holiday, you have Mayo. Like, you've got more dudes in the minor league that are coming up for them as well. You've got Mountcastle, O'Hearn, I think, is a free agent, but they're loaded in the infield. And if they're not going to be willing to discuss the names we would probably like to talk about, this is a lower tiered option that could still fit very well on your roster and comes with 3 years of control. But again, he's 30, so the 3 years of control might not necessarily be that important just because he could tank and he might not be an ARB option in a year.
So I don't want to throw a trade package out there because I have one package that Joe and I were talking about that would get me laughed out of here. So we're not going to talk about that.
You have to mention it now.
But
no,
just
now
say
you
it
have
like
to do
that.
it.
You have
Such
to
an
say
easy
it.
joke in there.
Yeah,
Such an easy joke.
I'm
say
sorry?
Say it, Colby.
Oh, you don't want to throw your package out there. It sounds like your Tinder game.
You're not far off, actually.
You got the hair, though, man. That's half the battle.
As we all know, when your package arrives, your package has arrived.
You're darn right.
Well,
I love
that's a deep
Thanksgiving.
cut. Hey, Canadian Thanksgiving on Monday. I love Thanksgiving.
I'm lost.
That's for the Locked On Mariners OGs.
That's from the OG.
Okay.
Like two of you will get that.
A guy that I think makes a lot of sense is Luis Garcia from the Nationals. Strikes out about 17% of the time. Put up a career year, had a 115 OPS plus in 2024. He's in 5 years, about 465 games, a career 270, 302, 410 guy. Hit 18 home runs this year randomly. His career high before that was 9. Hit 18 this year, just kind of out of nowhere. Only 24 years old. Plays second base for you. You'd have him for the next, I think, 3 or 4 years. I don't know. This is a guy that makes sense. I don't know what the trade package would look like for a guy like that. I don't know what the Nationals would be looking for, and frankly, if they'd even be willing to move on from him. But for the right price, he's not a big like power guy. He doesn't hit the ball hard. He's right around league average, but he's a guy who doesn't strike out a lot. And I think fits the lineup for the Mariners, and you can put him at second base. And I think that he'll be better than Jorge Polanco there. So that's kind of where I'm at with that trade package.
Look, bring me any of the Red Sox guys. It's really that simple. If they're going to trade pitching, which I know we don't want to, I know it's plan Z, but the Red Sox need it if the Mariners are going to do it. Tristan Casas to play first base, Roman Anthony, the top prospect in baseball, to come in and be an outfielder of the future. Marcelo Meyer, who they don't seem to need right now at the moment as a middle infielder, as a top prospect. I want Cedon Rafaela. They probably won't trade him. Jaron Duran, if they want to get rid of him, I'd take him too. So any of the Red Sox players that they seem to have positional redundancy on, and Casas, I'd be interested in any or all of them.
I've kind of like been fumbling around with names. I started with like a Jonathan India at second base, just like revisiting that one. That's not really under the radar though. But I mean, he did have a good year. It kind of like rose to the occasion when the Reds needed him to due to injuries and like Marte getting suspended, etc. Like 248 average, 357 OBP, 392 slug. Like it's not great, but a 108 WRC plus, like doesn't play great defense. But like as far as like a second baseman that is going to get paid, like is going to get paid like $4 million next year, 4.4, I believe. Like it's not the worst thing I've ever heard of. It's just, it's going to be one that if it does kind of culminate, people will be like, why didn't you do that last year? Or one, you're just going to get him on a down year. And then it's just going to be, he's going to get laughed out of T-Mobile. Like it just feels like a situation where if you do make that trade after you've talked about it for 3 years running, like you made the trade too late, like you kind of ran out of time. And maybe that's a similar situation like with Polanco. Like they talked about wanting him for a while and then they kind of ran out of time and got him like on the downswing. So not to say that like trading for India before 2023 would have been any better because like a 98 WRC plus like was only 1.5, like worth 1.5 wins, but put up almost a 3-win season according to F4 last year. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he can put up 2 wins and you'd be okay at second base with India. So it's not under the radar, I wouldn't say, but I could see it happening.
All right, I got 2. One I'll make very brief. We know that the Diamondbacks and the Mariners love a good old-fashioned salary swap. So what if we take on Jordan Montgomery and we give them Mitch Haniger? Their contracts don't line up equally, but I think this is about a $7 million difference. But we know the Diamondbacks do not like Jordan Montgomery, and I tell you what, you put him in T-Mobile, maybe things flip. I'm just saying, that could be something that is a possibility. Is it realistic? Probably not. But a more serious note, I think that there's a world where we trade for Noelvi Marte. I think that the Reds have a lot of infielders that all need to play, and Noelvi Marte could be sitting there as somebody that could be got. I wonder if they'd be interested in Harry Ford. I mean, Stevenson's getting old for their catcher. I wonder if they'd be interested in him. We've got Garcia, we've got Logan Evans. That maybe the Reds would be interested in. You package them together with a guy like a Harry Ford. Maybe you're able to get a Noelvi Marte as your third baseman of the future. It's a possibility.
For the last 3 weeks, I have been looking at Fangraphs every single day, like, hey, how about this guy? And then being like, no, you're stupid. Like, no, that guy doesn't work. Like, and it's really easy to talk yourself into a bunch of guys and talk yourself out of a bunch of guys. So there are dozens of names here that I've looked at and said, nope, just nope. And so I'll just give you the name I thought of today as a guy who could be available. Isn't going to be super exciting, but I think you'd be pretty shocked if he got traded. And that's Andres Jimenez of the Cleveland Guardians, second baseman. Jimenez is a guy who has really struggled at the plate this year. Last year, he was okay. In 2022, we thought he was a superstar, and that's when he got this big extension. He hasn't been able to repeat that, but he is the best defensive player in the American League, according to the folks who decide the Gold Glove. And as we know, they are infallible. He won the Platinum Glove last year. But StatCast has him as a 100th percentile defender. He is an elite second baseman defensively. So at the very least, I am upgrading at second base defensively, like into the stratosphere over Polanco. A run saved is the same thing as a run scored. And I'm hoping I can get the bat closer to something between 23 and 22. Why would the Guardians trade him? Well, we just talked about the Guardians. They are a model that is turn and burn. That is, pay these guys until they start to make a little too much money and then sell them right away and then just bring up the next guy. And Jimenez's contract is going to drop from like 5 million, what it was this year, to 10 million-ish next year, maybe closer to 11. And then after that, it jumps to 15 for about 4 or 5 years. So, do I think the Guardians are likely going to trade him this winter? No, but if he was on like the Padres or maybe not the Padres have their own payroll issues, but if he was on like, the Mets, we wouldn't even be talking about this. Like, no, I mean, they're going to house that and he's not going to be available because despite the poor bat, he's still a 3.5, 4 win player at second base, but it's the Guardians and they do things a little differently. So maybe, just maybe he's available. I thought of him too late to really come up with a trade package, but needless to say, it would be pretty hefty. And there is another big bat in Cleveland that makes more sense and would be more affordable, but obviously he's not very much under the radar. I don't know if anybody's going to say him, so I don't want to. I was just thinking about Andres Jimenez today. I think he'd be pretty interesting. I think he might be surprisingly available this winter. Hey, if you go get Jose Ramirez, that'd be my number one, but you can't. So let's shift focus here. And Jimenez is a pretty good player who, at the very least, brings plenty of contact. He's going to steal a lot of bags for you, and he's going to play elite defense. And it's only going to cost you $10, $15 million for the next 5 or 6 years. And he can move to shortstop once JP leaves. Like, I think Jimenez is an interesting player who might be available. And so he's under the radar, I would say.
Okay. So I decided to go under the radar. So, and I want to qualify this as I do not want them to trade for this player because I do not think he's very good, but he seems like the kind of player that they would trade for.
Oh, do it. Do it.
The name that I bring you is Brett Beatty, who has been terrible as a major leaguer, terrible, just really bad. Like has played in parts of 3 seasons and has never posted a 650 OPS. Good defender, first round pick. Jerry Dipoto loves first round picks. There's nothing Jerry Dipoto loves more than a first round pick who hasn't panned out. And Brett Beatty's a first round pick. He did not make the Mets playoff roster. He was in AAA towards the end of the season. He's had a lot of injury issues up and down. Just has not worked out with the Mets. There's no room for him on the Mets. The Mets are always in need of additional win now type things. They would probably take like I don't know who's a reliever. I don't know. Do they need a lefty reliever?
Saucedo. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, or like something like that. Give them one of the bullpen guys that have a bunch of control that you don't want to pay $2 to $3 million for, because you can't pay $2 to $3 million to 5 different kind of relievers like they're kind of facing the plan for. I don't know, throw in something crappy. The Mets have no place for Brett Baty. They've got Acuna now as their like versatile backup infielder. They've got Jeff McNeil. They've got guys that play all over the infield now.
That Austin
totally
trade is so hard.
I would hate that so much. I would hate
it so much. Hate it so much.
Again, Brett Baty, probably not any good. Like maybe he's totally cooked.
Bad.
But that's such a Dipoto bet. I want to keep at third base. Like I'm gonna, even if they like non-tender Rojas can probably play second. But Beatty's played a great third base when he's been in there, and
so bad.
Dipoto is the ultimate I can fix you GM. Like he loves former first round picks. Baty has totally washed out. He's not going to be with the Mets. He's going to be cheap. I don't endorse it, but I like did like 5-10 minutes of like digging into like who's playing third base on some of these teams, and he is such a Dipoto guy. It hurts.
Dude, it's October. It's horror film season. This is literally, you just described a horror film. Oh my goodness.
Brett Baty did start at third base on opening day.
Dude, the fact that is like the most, it's so realistic. Like that is the most realistic. This is a bad dream that you just created here.
If they can't convince Philadelphia. Yeah, if they can't convince Philadelphia to part with Alec Baum, they are 100% going to go.
And I think Bohm's going to be expensive. I don't think they're going to pay what Bohm is going to cost. I think Philly knows that they can hold Bohm. And a guy like Baty, who is, again, I do not think they could fix Brett Baty, but he's absolutely just, the Mets would give him away. And Jared
I would honestly
obsess over getting him for free.
I would rather they give a minor league contract to Bobby Dalbec than do that.
Bobby Dalbec would be such a funny Mariner. I'd be so down for that. He'd be so bad, but it would be so funny.
I just love how Jage told us that we should go be getting Ramon Urias, and I'm like, and I'm listening to him say it, and he goes, well, he's 30, he plays second, he can play third, he also hits lefties. I'm like, so basically Dylan Moore part 2.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of, I know that you had mentioned Kim. We have Dylan Moore at home, buddy. We don't need Kim. We don't need to give Kim 15 million, 20 million a year when you got Dylan Moore, who's put up the same OPS over the last 4 years, has the same defensive flexibility, not as good, and at least has some pop, where Kim's F4 has been fully dedicated to his base running and his defense with.
He doesn't strike out. Remember, if you want to cut strikeouts, he does not strike out.
Is that
cut
the
strikeouts again?
Cut strikeouts again? That seems good. We should do that.
So like Colby, because we've been doing a lot of preparation for the offseason plan, I've gone through tons of names, and I have tons of names on a list. I'll just throw out someone that we talked about on our show a couple days ago, Willie Castro, the utility man for the Twins. The reason why I bring him up is multiple factors here. One, the Twins are looking to sell. They're not going to add payroll most likely this winter. He's only got 1 year left. He is projected to make, I believe, $6.7 million in arbitration. And he gives you a lot of different options. He can act kind of as a fail-safe. He can act as an answer to at least one of your needs, because he is truly a super utility. He can play second well. He can play third well. His bat isn't going to profile particularly well at third because he doesn't hit for a ton of power, but he is going to play the position well, and he is going to give you at least some offensive value out of there. And if you got him early in the offseason, like, you got him in your back pocket, right? So you can still go out and you get your third baseman. You can go out and still get your second baseman, or you can get both, and now you just have this really good utility player. I don't think it would cost a ton. I mean, maybe it's like 2 guys in the Logan Evans range of prospects. Maybe it's 1 guy in that range, and then maybe like the Jeter Martinez or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I don't think it's going to cost you anything prohibitive. necessarily. That is if he is available, of course, but I think there's a decent chance he is because of the Twins situation right now. But again, yeah, you can play quite a few spots really well. He can also play in the outfield if you want him to. And since he got to Minnesota a couple of years ago, he's kind of revitalized his bat. He's kind of figured things out offensively. He's been about a 10. I think he's been 108 WRC plus each of the last 2 years. I'd be wrong on that, give or take a couple points. He'll steal some bags. Yeah, he's just a solid all-around player that, again, gives you a lot of different options and gives you a ton of flexibility with building your roster out.
Well, he couldn't be here tonight, so I'll make his presence felt. It's time to trade back for Abe. We need a second baseman. Time to go get Abe Toro. All right, no, not actually though.
Homage to TJ.
A little bit. It's not a perfect option, but Jake Berger at a 900 OPS in the second half. Now his defense is so bad. So
yeah, he's like a third baseman in name.
Yeah. So I was going to say maybe to DH if you're really going to make Garver the backup catcher. That doesn't give you a lot of roster flexibility, but I'm just trying to think about any possible way to make the offense better. Could be one. Marlins obviously aren't winning. They're probably okay trading him. Mm-hmm. So you need offense. Maybe he could play first base. You shift him over there, but if you're looking for offense and you're looking for somebody that's actually under the radar and not Kyle Tucker, I would say Jake Berger.
Although we don't know the final roster of the 2025 Mariners, what are some things that we are looking forward to for next season in this squad? And of course, we have to start this type of question out with Colby.
He's so affable.
King positivity. Let's go.
It just oozes out of me. Yeah, nothing. Everything is over. Like,
not even the J-Rod squad?
I mean, it's only on Tuesday and Friday. How does that help me? I live in Yakima. So what are things to look forward to? Obviously rotation, unless you're going to go with, Colton's stupid plan and trade Logan Gilbert. But the rotation is number one, obviously. Julio's still fun. Even bad Julio will do things that are really fun. Victor Robles is obviously, but I'm going to leave a lot of those like talking points on the table for you guys because I actually have one that is way out of left field. One of the players I'm most excited to watch next year, believe it or not, Edward Bizzardo. I know it's weird, but he was fantastic. Yeah. He was fantastic down the stretch, and I think the Mariners might have figured something out with him. You look at his StatCast page, there's a lot of bright red here. The slider was absolutely filthy. He gets an extreme number of ground balls. He misses more than enough bats, and he was pretty good. They kept on inching him into more leverage situations throughout the year. And once he came back for the final time, which is up and down, he was really good. And he was right there with Snyder, honestly, in terms of just production, because Colin had some blowups. He did. And Bizzardo, oddly enough, really didn't. And I was in the stadium when he was pitching against the Rangers and they were up, 7-0 or whatever. And it took a great play from, was it Locklear playing first?
Yeah, it was Locklear.
It took a great play from Corey Seager not coming up representing the go-ahead run. But the dude gets a ton of ground balls. He gets a lot of swing and miss. He throws a lot of strikes now. I think the Mariners have figured something out here. And if Bizzardo is even just a seventh inning guy, right? I'm saving $2 million because I don't have to bring back Thornton. I don't have to bring back Chargois. I don't have to bring back Voth, although I like Voth quite a bit too. But I save that money. And it may not seem like a lot, like $1.5 million. Is that really that big of a deal? You tell me. I mean, who's the owner again? So, yeah, because I want to give you guys the easier answers here, I'll take the guy way off the board. I'll take Bizzardo, but also, since I'm going first, I'm going to stake my claim on Luke Raley. He's mine. So
sure.
Everybody else, pick somebody else.
Right.
But
that's my man.
Yep, that's right. Ain't nobody going to mess with my man. So
Joe literally looks like him. What do you mean? Like, how can that not be Joe?
That is an excellent point. That is an excellent
I just need to get ripped and then we'll be fine.
I mean, not that ripped.
I mean, from where I'm at right now, it's a long journey to get to Luke Raley. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
I think you could do it in an off season. I think you should buy a Luke Raley jersey, go to opening day.
Today.
That's right. Wear a full uniform with the Luke Raley and see people ask you for pictures.
I literally said that as soon when I started getting I think it was Mariner Steve on Twitter who brought it up in a live stream for the first time saying I look like Luke Raley. Immediately after that, I was like, yeah, I'll go buy a jersey. I'll go in full uniform. Colton's like, that's a little weird. I'm like, Let's have some fun. You
Did I
said it
say
was
that?
weird. You said it was weird the first
I'm
time.
dressing
I
up
brought
as
it
Daniel Vogelbach and going, I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
Of course.
That tracks. That tracks.
Chris, yeah, that tracks.
I get told I look like Christian Yelich just to hop onto that
Mhm,
train.
mhm.
So
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
So then, by extent, you also look like Pete Davidson.
yeah. Oh, I get that one all the time too. So, yeah, man.
He's not excited for anything.
What's that?
Fan interviews.
Dude, I'm telling you, when I say
I'm looking forward to asking George Curry his favorite 5 Fortnite dances.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Dude, when I say this season broke me, like it did, because I'm sitting here trying to like come up with positive. I'll think of a couple. Like, I can't wait for Matt Brash to get back. I know it's probably not going to be till June or maybe a little after, but the team obviously missed him dearly. I dearly missed watching him, and I would love to see him back on the field in 25, which he will be. Full year of Randy Arozarena is gonna be nice, assuming he's still here. As Ty does, as Randy. Assuming he's still here. Cal's always an easy one. Like, I hope if I see another, honestly, I'll up the stakes here because the Fox Sports MLB list that put out their top 10 catchers this year, we all know is a joke. If I see a single list this year that has the catchers out and has Cal anywhere below 5, we're throwing hands. I would say Cal and Brash, like seeing Brash back on the field and just another season of Cal Raleigh, who's very, very clearly one of the game's elite catchers at this point, one of the backbones of this team. I would say them, and I can't wait to see what the prospects do in 2025 too, because we didn't get to see a lot of prospects really make an impact at the big league level in 24. We'll see how much of that happens in 25, but I think there will be more than 24 just between we expect to see Cole Young. At some point, we'll probably see Brandon Garcia or Logan Evans, guys like that. And then while they won't be in the big leagues, I'm excited to see how far Colt Emerson and Felnine Celestia and those guys can get in 25, because we're seeing what Colt's doing in the fall league. We assume if Felnine's healthy, he's going to be, he's going to be really, really good. So just to see those guys really get further on into affiliated ball and see how many steps they could take.
Next year, I'm looking forward to a full season of Dan and Edgar. Up until the point to where they were both hired, the Mariners were 30th in batting average with a 216, 26th in on-base percentage, 27th in runs scored. From August 23rd through the end of the season, they were 3rd overall in weighted runs created plus as a team with a 125. They were 8th in batting average, 4th in on-base percentage, 5th in runs scored. Clearly, the addition of those guys, Edgar talking to the hitters about their approach. Sure, there was Justin Turner and other factors that helped, but I think it did make a difference, and I'm excited to see kind of how this team is ran next year. Less analytics and more feel for the game, and just back to the basics.
I will say something that I'm looking forward to the most, and if it does happen, like it's not a guarantee that it'll happen, but the second base curse, I've said it a ton, that it needs to be broken through a guy within the organization. No more going out and trading, no more signing free agents. Cole Young will break the curse that Robinson Cano left when he got traded, and second base will no longer be a black hole as soon as Cole Young makes his debut. So whether it's a delusional thing I'm looking forward to, because it's not going to happen, but it might happen. And so that's what I'm most excited for as far as like looking at like a singular player. I'd say Cole Young, like whenever he makes his debut, like that's going to be an exciting time. Second thing, if Humpy doesn't win a race in 2025, I'm willing to go tackle everybody, all the other salmon on the field to make sure Humpy gets a win. Like I will full on go out there and like Legion of Boom some of them to make sure that they don't win and Humpy gets a
I
dub.
has no idea what you're talking about.
I know. Don't let Joe fool you. He only went to one game. Don't let Joe fool you.
But it's still sad that Humpy didn't win a single race. And who knows, if Salmon Run also isn't back next year, and they didn't let Humpy get a single race.
We had to cut Humpy for Ahmed Rosario.
Sounds like Joe wants this guy to be the Mariners' new Grimace.
Hey, if it's working for the Grimace Mets into the National League Championship
the Humpy
Series,
Mariners,
the Humpy Mariners, bring it home, dude. I'm all in.
Yeah, a few things. Probably on the major league roster, whether or not Luke Raley and Victor Robles are 450 PA type guys, because they kind of need to be. If they're not, there's nothing this team's doing this offseason that's going to be able to save the roster. Those guys are penciled to be middle top lineup bats. They're going to be penciled to be, I mean, again, Rayleigh might see even more than that. It depends on how they address first base, whether or not they're going to use him as a platoon, whether or not they're going to try to get him into the outfield more, maybe DH Randy a little bit more to get Randy out of the outfield because his defense is basically the Fernando Rodney experience of outfield. So if we're going to see more of Randy on the DH side, I'm going to be happy with that. I also, to echo Patrick's point, for a while at the beginning of the year, I was kind of tracking the minor league stats and kind of how they were going over 2-week periods till it got a little burdensome, but also kind of everybody got hurt at once. That was when Farmelo went down and Colts went down again, and we're just like, oh great, we're just not going to be able to see any of our big name guys this year. But what was fun about that was seeing the development really of like Michael Arroyo, right? Like again, Laz ended up figuring it out as he went along when he got up to Modesto, but there was no transition period for Arroyo. Arroyo just went there and just kept going. I'm not surprised they gave Laz the minor league hitter of the year, but I'm sorry, it was Arroyo. The dude jumped a level and did not stop.
The steal.
He got better.
Yeah. He got better. Like what he did was incredible. And again, if you go look back at what he did as a 17-year-old in the system, I know we've kind of seen what. I'm sorry if I got the name wrong. Dwell Joseph. Do not look up his numbers for being one of the highest international free agents that the Mariners have ever signed. Do not go look up what he did stateside or in his first year of pro ball because it was not pretty. Michael Arroyo was not much better. So that's what gives me a little bit of hope down that line. But also wondering whether or not Cole Young's going to, impact this roster. I'm pretty high on Cole Young, mostly because of the emotional side of things. The kid went to high school down the street from where I live, which is really exciting. So, being able to see him succeed on the team would be a lot of fun. And honestly, a big question for me for 2025 and something I'm really looking forward to is I do want to see what they're going to do with the roster this year. I am very looking forward to, seeing how much is John Stanton really going to actually try to pull we raised payroll and then come back and say it was $2 million more than it was the year before and then stone-faced say it in the camera. So I am interested to see what they are pushing to. Mostly because if they're willing to get to that number, especially with the pitching and the price of our beers going up as time comes along with Cal, obviously Julio's locked in, but Cal, Logan, Kirby, Brash is going to be ARB eligible soon here too. It does start to become harder for them to say, because again, when Garver and Haniger come off the books at the end of 2025, no matter what, I mean, that's $30 million off the books. Like, yeah, ARB's going to eat that up. But still, if you're running a 160 payroll this year, I still think they're not going to go over 150, to be honest. I think there's ways they can be cheap and get that roster very, very low if they need to and still have what they need. I want to see what he's going to push it to because it makes it, in my opinion, in the window that they're in with the control that they have on their pitching, it makes it really hard to justify going backwards in payroll. So if they get up to 160 this year, it makes me go, okay, 160 is the expectation until you blow it up. And trust me, I wish we had 160 the last 2 years. Would have made a huge difference.
I only have one answer. More Victor Robles. A full season of Victor Robles. That's what I'm most excited about. Like that was like the biggest positive of 2024 was Victor Robles coming out of nowhere, becoming this great baseball story, like this Disney movie type thing where he's a top prospect, he's a World Series champion, then he's a cast-off, then he's barely playing. His first game with the Mariners, he dropped the fly ball routinely in Oakland, and then all of a sudden he becomes an incredible defensive player. He steals 30 bases for them, he hits a couple of home runs, and he's the one guy on this roster who played with spunk all year. I mean, I forget who it was who said we didn't see like fun Julio this year. We didn't see fun Julio, we didn't see fun JP. Like the guys who smile on this team weren't really smiling a whole lot. Victor Robles never stopped smiling. A full year of Victor Robles. Give it to me in 2025.
And I'm just going to say that Victor Robles on Sunday Night Baseball was probably one of the most enjoyable experiences as a Mariners fan in 2024. Just that one game was just, was that also the 10-0 Mets game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the greatest game all year. Like nothing paled in like that was the game. It was all Victor.
We ended the Mets season and somehow they're in the NLCS. I don't know how that's possible because we killed them. I don't understand that.
We killed the Mets and we killed the Mets, but got brought back to life by the Tigers, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man.
All right, so Lyle mentioned what I was going to mention about the prospects. It was kind of one of the frustrating things down the stretch for the Mariners I would talk about in my recaps is like, there was no like, hey, this guy's making his major league debut tomorrow to get excited about in September. So it was kind of frustrating. So I'm looking forward to the prospects being, a step closer to the big league level, or just one step further up. It's not a player, but I'm excited to see what Dan Wilson can do with a full offseason with these guys. Kind of, I think when you come in as an interim, well, not interim, but kind of an interim basis as a manager, it's tough to implement things you want to do. You're kind of just carrying the wave a little bit of what was there before. So I'm curious and excited to see how Dan does with the guys in the full offseason. They seem to really like Dan Wilson. So I'm hoping that there's that buy-in and that there's just sort of that energy that he can bring to the table next year. So I'm excited for that. And the last thing is nothing to do necessarily with the team, but me and my wife are planning on doing a trip to Seattle next year for some games. So I'm very excited to maybe meet some of you guys and to be in the ballpark next year. So no matter what, there's nothing better than a day at the ballpark, no matter what the team's record is. So I'm very much looking forward to being back where I came from the Seattle area. So excited for that.
Specifically, I'm going to say the minor leagues producing value in 2025 because it did nothing in 2024. Troy Taylor was a great story down the stretch. If you look at the minor league rookies that debuted on the Mariners this year, it was zero productivity for the most part. And on top of that, we had to watch a bunch of veterans produce under replacement level for most of the year. So I am excited to see some young players that come out of the strength of this organization, which is their drafting and prospect development. Geez, I'm stuck on my word. Prospect development. And I'm excited to see impact from young guys next year. I think they have a ton of potential help on both sides of the ball from their high minors guys next year. And I think Cole Young's the one in particular I want to see have an impact, but I think you could get it from 7 or 8 different guys that played AA, AAA last year.
I'm really excited to see Matt Brash again. I tell you what, I don't know when that's happening, but man, I missed him so much this year. So that's my very simple answer. Can I say a non-Mariners thing I'm excited for?
Sure.
Other than hot dogs from heaven, I'm really excited, like weirdly excited to see the A's. I don't even know what they're calling them, playing in that AAA stadium. I'm just going to be fascinated by that. Like, I don't know what to expect, but it's going to be really weird seeing, the Yankees come into town and they're playing in the Sacramento River Cat Stadium. Like, that is going to be so weird. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm looking forward to it. One last thing, and this is more baseball in general. I'm really looking forward to those awful uniforms. Getting out of here with the small letters and the small name and the see-through pants. Like, get those things out of here. Look good, play good. I'm excited for the uniforms to go back the way they were, looking the way that a baseball uniform should. Because there's nothing better than a baseball uniform, that's clean. Opening day looking good. It just wasn't it this year. So I'm looking forward to the baseball uniforms going back.
I mean, I'm really glad that we all stuck to one, so that everyone could say something different. Thanks, guys.
Shut up.
Like, you got the hair. You don't get to complain.
Like, no, I mean, prospects. When Joe and I were talking about what we were going to say before all this, prospects is kind of where I'm at. Like, I look to we've seen Jackson Merrill right in the playoffs so far. We saw Evan Carter, with the Rangers. The Mariners really haven't had that guy other than Julio in 2022. Like, he was that version, I guess. But at the same time, it's like these guys are making massive impacts, especially when we've seen what Jackson Merrill has been able to do over the past few weeks or so. The Mariners, I really want to see them have that guy. And could Cole Young be that guy? I don't know. But I would love to see Cole Young get an opportunity as long as they fill in the positions elsewhere, as long as third base is taken care of. Like, I don't want Cole Young and Josh to be in this lineup together ever. I think that like Jay said, is being at the ballpark, man. Like, there is nowhere that I'm happier than at the ballpark, truly. And like literally the world could be on fire outside. I don't care. I'm at the ballpark, baby. You know what I mean? I don't care. And so I think that, and then one thing that Joe and I talked about was the outfield trio all being together for like an extended period of time. Julio, Randy / Ty, and Victor Robles all together for hopefully an entire season. Seeing what those three can do together, because we didn't really get it a whole lot in 2024 simply because of injuries. And obviously Randy getting traded for later on in the season, Victor showing up later as well. So if we can get it for an entire season, man, like that could be some of the most electric and just downright fun moments of 2025. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay. So Colton wants the Wildfires to come back, so that's good to know.
Yeah,
we already had the Wildfire games a couple of years ago.
What kind of like out of pocket comment is that, dude?
What was that, dude? Okay.
I'm excited for the Fires to not come back. I'll start there.
You guys are putting words in my mouth. This is slanderous.
I'm literally said it.
How on the nose could you be?
I'm excited to see Kyle Tucker in Amara's uniform, right, Lyle? Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
When we get
right.
to trades later, I may or may not bring it up.
I'm excited.
So
I'm
under the
excited
radar.
to see who. I'm excited to see who Colby irrationally hates next year. There's always a new candidate for that.
Victor Robles is a good candidate.
The Cal Raleigh hate is going to be crazy.
Never.
Or when you turn on Luke Rayleigh. Oh wow, that's like top 10 anime betrayals. I'm also excited for my Twitter mentions. They are definitely going to be normal. All right, so seriously, I mean, you guys kind of took all of them.
Bro, I literally said a salmon run thing. Like, there's got to be something out there.
I mean, there are
Hot dogs from
exceptions.
heaven?
I'm
what song are they going to play during seventh inning stretch?
I'm excited for the hot dogs from heaven, the bobbleheads, and
none of which Ty will ever receive.
What was the other thing Mark from Maple Valley said?
Fireworks and bobbleheads.
Fireworks. There we go.
And
There
hot
we go.
dogs from heaven.
Yeah, I'm excited for all of those things. I'm excited to see what new pair of boots Jerry DePoto has. Yeah, I mean, like, do I even need to say it, Randy? You know, I'm doing the emote.
You're that guy. Yeah, that's right.
Full season of Randy, obviously. Like, and hey, let's actually get him in the playoffs so we can see playoff Randy. That would be pretty cool.
Let's keep him on the team in 2025.
Well, yeah, let's start there. Let's start there, but then let's also get him to the playoffs. That'd be great. That would be very rock and roll. Also, Matt Brash, like you mentioned, Lyle, actually getting him back. Probably at the All-Star break, but man, if you get Matt Brash back and he's cooking for the second half of the season, yeah, buddy. So yeah, those two things for sure.